Howdy y'all, it's Juan Argon Silas, your host here at the Gamingverse. Welcome back to the Gamingverse. This is another video from Planet Zoo. This is our first video after the release of the full Planet Zoo. Now, I've decided that we're going to do franchise mode. Everybody else is doing sandbox, but I like the whole management aspect of the zoo. So what we're going to do today is we're going to build our entrance, and we've got $40,000 to build our entrance. We're going to try and build an entrance so that there's enough money left over so that we can move forward with an exhibit, which then will start generating some money. So I started building the entrance. I picked the Savannah. Well, actually, it wasn't the Savannah. It was actually North America. Is what I picked. Excuse me. I picked North America, and I picked San Antonio, which is a very, San Antonio's not a very flat area, but that's what they put down as the flat area. San Antonio is going to be our base zoo, so this is going to be our first franchise zoo, and it's going to be the base zoo. The name of the franchise is the SW Foundation Wildlife Foundation. SW Wildlife Foundation. And the reason for that, SW, no, it's SD Wildlife Foundation. And the reason for that is I'm naming the foundation as a tribute to my brother, Serge. I've named the foundation after him, and the headquarters zoo will be named after him. So it'll be SD Wildlife Park. That's going to be the name of the first zoo that we put together for this franchise mode. Because it is San Antonio, I'm going to base the zoo basically I'm going to take the San Antonio Zoo and try and recreate as close as possible to the San Antonio Zoo. Just because I love that zoo, it's my hometown zoo and it's a beautiful zoo. So I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to recreate the San Antonio Zoo. This is going to be the San Antonio Zoo entrance, as close to it as possible based on what we have now. Because we're in franchise mode, we have a very limited amount of pieces that we play with at the beginning. I'm going to use those pieces to create the zoo. As we move forward and we unlock all the other pieces, I might come back and redo the front or some other areas of the zoo with the new pieces so that it looks more like the San Antonio Zoo because of the new pieces that we use. So that's kind of the idea of where we're getting at, or what we're going to be doing here. This is the first iteration of the entrance of the San Antonio Zoo. What I did is, because it was so flat, I kind of brought up the terrain and kind of made it sit on top of a little hill. Because actually, the original, I'll show you a picture of the entrance of the San Antonio Zoo later on, so you can see that it does sit up on a hill, and it's actually, if you look at the San Antonio Zoo, and I'm using the San Antonio Zoo as reference, it's actually in a hill that's on a downward angle. Now that's very difficult to recreate here in Planet Zoo. I would have to terraform the entire zoo in that kind of a format. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to sit the entrance up high, and then I'm going to kind of bring it towards the back, bring it down low, and then have some elevated areas and some lower areas as we go along towards the back of the zoo. I am going to try and recreate because the San Antonio Zoo sits in Breckenridge Park. So it's in the middle of a park, or not in the middle, but on one of the edges of the park. So I'm going to try and recreate that area where the San Antonio Zoo is, where 281 crosses on one side, and then you've got Breckenridge Park on the entrance and around the zoo, and then you've got Broadway on the back of the zoo where all the backstage area is. So I'm going to try and recreate the entire zoo here on Planet Coaster, because it's actually a pretty condensed zoo. Now they are expanding it, and there's a lot of plans for expansion, and I'm going to put some of those expansion plans. You can see the entrance on top of a hill. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do here, is put it on top of put it on top of a hill. I'm gonna do some of the expansions. They're putting in a new parking lot towards the back of the zoo, so I'm gonna put that parking lot in. The existing parking lot that they had next to the zoo, they've turned that into a kind of a kiddie park. So I'm gonna try and recreate that kiddie park. A couple of things, there's a couple of things, and I'm also gonna do, they're missing some exhibits, or not some exhibits, but some habitats are empty, and so I'm gonna do that as well. I'm gonna have some empty habitats because they don't actually have animals in them. So I'm gonna try and recreate the zoo as it actually is right now, and I'm gonna try and include some of those expansions in it. And I'm gonna do it all within the budget that I'm given, and try and have a budget and stay within that budget of the zoo. So that's where we're going with this. I really I'm enjoying it. I've been playing it a lot. I just haven't had an opportunity to put out any videos. This is going to be my first video, and hopefully, because I have a lot of content, I'm going to start putting out videos a lot quicker. I just hadn't had a chance to edit and put videos together because I've been very busy at work. But I haven't had a chance to play it. I mean, it's been out. It's on its third week now. For the last 2 weeks, I've been playing it pretty much every day. And so the zoo's a lot bigger than what you see here. But we're gonna start with the entrance. I just think it's gonna set the tone for the entire zoo. And I'm gonna Planet Coaster doesn't have all the animals that the San Antonio Zoo has, and at the same vein, the San Antonio Zoo has some animals that are not on Planet Zoo. So I'm gonna try and recreate as many of the animals as the zoo has. I'm try not to add animals that it doesn't have, or I will substitute animals that it doesn't have, or that it does have, by animals that are similar to the ones that it has. I'm gonna do the best that I can to recreate the zoo, to make it as realistic as possible. And that's the other thing I'm going for, is the realism of the zoo. That's why I'm following that format of the San Antonio Zoo. I'm not gonna, because it has some thematic areas, but it's not over the top. And that's one of the things that I not to take away from other Planet Zoo colleagues. I mean, they're doing some wonderful things out there and creating some amazing structures and buildings. I want to stay more within the realism. And the idea of this franchise is going to be realistic North American zoos. The franchise is not going to go around the world. It's going to stay in North America. I've already got a couple of the other zoos that I've visited that I want to recreate. There's a couple in Texas because it's my home state, and this is where I've visited most of my zoos. But I've lived in Denver, I've lived in Washington D.C., I lived in California. So I'm going to try and create zoos around those areas. I've visited Florida, I've visited all over the country. And every time I visit, I try and visit a zoo. So I'm gonna try and recreate zoos all over the country. Use the zoos around the country for inspiration, but I'm gonna create them in the North American area, and that's kind of what I'm gonna stick to. I'm not gonna go outside, and I'm gonna try and keep it as realistic and as true to those zoos as possible. So, and I'm going to use the pieces that they give me. So in some instances, it's not going to look exactly like the zoo that I'm going for, but I'm going to try and create it I'm going to try and be as true as possible to those zoos. Now, I like the entrance here, but as you'll see, this is the actual San Antonio Zoo entrance. and it's got the San Antonio Zoo. This is from Google Maps, but it's from March of this year. This is my hometown zoo. I'm gonna try and recreate it as true to this as possible. This is my idea, and I'm gonna give you an overview of how the entrance looks with all the initial buildings, that middle land area right there, and this is kind of where I'm going with this zoo. It's gonna be, and I'm gonna try and recreate that little circle thing there, the traffic circle. That parking lot that's on the right hand side, that's going to be the kiddie park. Here's the actual current map. So you can see there's a kiddie park. I'm going to recreate the circle. Train is on the outside, so I'm going to recreate that as well. And then I'm going to try and follow the map as close as possible. I'm doing this because I actually destroyed the original that we just saw, and I came back and redid the front just because I didn't like the way that it looked, and because I had trouble with the entrances. Unfortunately, Planet Zoo does not include entrances in the original franchise, so I ended up deleting the entrances that I had, and I didn't have an entrance at the time. So unfortunately, I had to redo the entire zoo. So that's basically what I'm doing here, is recreating the entrance portion of the zoo. I'm stamping out the entrance and recoloring it and getting it ready for the entrance that I built. I actually put it on my blueprints to make it a lot easier, and so now I'm just gonna try and finish the entrance. Basically, I'm trying to recreate it as true to it as possible with the front. Now, one of the things that I noticed is the front has there's a lot of overgrowth at the San Antonio Zoo. It's not that it's not well maintained or well kept. It's that I think what they're going for is they're allowing the plants to overgrow for the purposes of the zoo and the animals and the exhibits more than anything. I think that's the reason there's a lot of overgrowth in the zoo. So there's some manicured areas, and then there's some real overgrowth areas. And one of the things that I noticed was that a lot of the habitats are overgrown. They're not mowed, they're not maintained. They're allowed to just be natural as possible. Now, you've got to understand something. Again, I've seen some beautiful zoos being built. Beautiful parks with very elaborate themes and buildings and stuff like that, and I think they're gorgeous. I'm gonna stick to the true nature and the realism of the zoos that are actually out there right now. Maybe improve on them a little bit, use some of the inspiration from those other places and what other people are building. But I think what I want to do is I want to stay true to the realism of the zoo, and that's what I'm thinking here. So I put in the ticket area for the, created the ticket area. I hadn't had a chance, or I wasn't really able to, for whatever reason. Maybe it was me, maybe it was just I was doing it wrong, I don't know, but I wasn't able to really create the steps, which I think the way the San Antonio Zoo's laid out, especially that front, the entrance, I love those 3 separate steps going into the ticket booths. I just wasn't able to do that. I did watch Mike Sheets' tutorial on steps, and I'm gonna try that to see if it works, just because I think I really do want to do those steps for this particular zoo. And then I was watching the Bro Coaster's new episode zoo or season zoo, and Mike built some amazing stuff. He built this entire boulevard, including sidewalks, working sidewalks. And I'm gonna try and do that in this zoo and build the working boulevard for the zoo in the front, and try and see if I can put some sidewalks in. I'm not gonna guarantee it, guys, because I'm not Mike Sheets. I mean, I'm still learning. You know, I'm still in the learning phase here. But I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try and follow some of his examples and see if I can get the learning curve going there, and build the boulevard in the front. You know, just like it's in that picture that I showed you. So here I'm gonna build that back called the Lion's Den. It's the gift shop for the zoo, and it's got a very interesting kind of half polygon thing going, octagon thing going. So I tried to recreate that, coming around and creating that, you know, half octagon thing. The problem wasn't the creating the shape. The problem was the roof, because the pieces are so limited. The roof pieces are so limited, and they're very specific. The roof didn't come out as good as I wanted it to, and I tried to look for some tutorials on how to create that roof, but I just didn't find any. Not that there aren't any out there. Maybe somebody has already created one, but I didn't find any roofs or any tutorials that talk about how to create that kind of half octagonal roof. So I built my own. I did my best. It's not perfect. In fact, as you can see, I'm trying to figure out how to do this. What kind of pieces? A lot of the pieces really don't really move, or are very very rigid, and they're built on that grid, so it makes it even more difficult because they're built on that grid, and so I can't really change or move away from that grid. You know, creating that octagonal look. As you can see, I'm trying to use the corner pieces to see if there's a way for me to put those pieces together so that they at least have a semi decent way of looking like that octagonal roof that you saw in the picture. It took a while for me to figure out. Here I'm trying to use some of the colored pieces, and there just wasn't enough pieces at the beginning of the game. I don't know if there are different pieces at the end of the game. I gave up on it. Started working on the front of the entrance. If you look at the entrance, at the picture of the entrance, there's posters on it. There's no posters on Planet Zoo, so I used the educational posters, the educational whatever those are called, kiosks, and put those to look like posters up. Embedded them into the wall to look like posters, so that they're the posters that are, they look like the posters that are there. Here I'm trying to look, the membership entrance is different, entrance and exit. So this is where I'm kind of creating that. What's really good about this is once I can unlock everything, I can use some of the pieces that was it Mike? Yeah, I think it was Mike created those turnstiles, those exit turnstiles, and I think he put them on the workshop. And so once I unlock all the pieces, I'm gonna put the turnstile, one of the turnstiles in here, because that's how it is at the entrance of the San Antonio Zoo. There's a guest, not a membership entrance, membership entrance, and then there's a turnstile for exit on that same side. So that's basically what I'm going to do with that. Here I'm just building the right side of the zoo, just kind of building it out, I use some of that barrier fence just because it has a chain link fence going out that way. And so here I'm trying to figure out, because again, the lion's den goes in right there, and so I'm trying to figure out how the path is going to work with the lion's den, since it's supposed to be halfway up that building. So I'm gonna have to redo the path later, and I'm gonna have to build the lion's den because otherwise I won't know how the path is gonna work on there. So, and again, I'm using the reference from from both aerial view and from I went to the zoo and took some pictures. I'm also using the reference from from Google Earth, and not Google Earth, from Google Maps. So I'm using as many references as I could possibly gather to create the lion's den. Eventually, it is going to be a working gift shop. So I'm definitely gonna make it into a gift shop. I'm gonna put there's room for me to put some of those one of the gifts, either loony the balloons. Right now all I have is balloons, but because franchise mode takes time, as I unlock other things, I'm gonna add things to the gift shop, and then maybe build it out, put in some shelves and some things out of the workshop. I know that what's his name, Mings, maybe one of the creators has actually created some postcard stands. So I'm going to be using some of those postcard stands and putting them in there. And as you can see, I'm still struggling with the roof. It just is not there's just not the pieces that you need to create that roof. Here I saved it, restarted it because it was glitching out, but definitely trying to create that roof, and it's just, that's the difficult part right there, is was creating that half octagonal kind of roof. There was a technique that I remember from Planet Coaster where you put one of those posts on the ground that are on the grid, but I couldn't find one. I couldn't find one that had a grid. So I'm back to trying to create it with whatever pieces I have. So basically, I'm using the corner pieces. That's what I used. That's what I just ultimately decided to do, is use those corner pieces to create kind of the illusion of that half. It's just not working for some reason. Anyway, to create that kind of half octagonal look to it, it just took me a while to kind of get the right pieces together. And as you can see, I mean, even now as I'm doing it, it doesn't look, it just doesn't look, I'm not satisfied with it, but it is what it is. So I'm gonna do my best. I did my best for right now, and then I'm going to ultimately try and see if I can find new pieces once I open the more of the franchise mode. Once I get better pieces for franchise mode. And once again, here I am, I'm trying to do the other side of the octagonal roof using the corner pieces as best as I can. It creates this kind of flat thing that doesn't look very good. And then I use I'm just trying to get the roof to look somewhat not layered like it does, but unfortunately it is what it is. just I was just not satisfied with it. So I go, going back to the drawing board and see if I can create something different with the pieces that I have. And that's kind of that was the difficult part, is creating something with the pieces that I was given. This is the, unfortunately, I have to admit that this probably was the best that I could do. Unfortunately, it kind of looks like the roof, it does, but it really isn't. So I move on. We gotta finish out the big administration building, because that's what it is. It's an administration guest relations building right there at the entrance. The way the San Antonio Zoo is created or is built is you've got your ticket booths, you buy your tickets, and then you get kind of a free sample at the beginning. There's the big center, massive oak tree in the middle, and then you've got the flamingos on the right side, and you've got the lemurs on the left side. And those are actually free exhibits, well, technically free exhibits, because you don't really have to buy a ticket to go in there. You can just stay around there and not buy a ticket. Then there's you're just past the flamingos and the lemurs. There's an entry point, and that's where you show your ticket and you go into the rest of the zoo. On the right side is an exit point, and there's a gate, that says exit on it. And there's somebody there that doesn't allow you to go in. You can't go in. You can't take a ticket and go that way. You have to go towards where the lemurs and the flamingos are in order to get in. And we're gonna recreate that as well. So, but again, it's one of those things where I'm using the pieces that are given to me. I'm not very happy with the way the roof looks right now, but it is what it is. This is about where I got with the entrance at this point, but I am, it does get better as I unlock more pieces. I can do more things. For right now, this is where I left it this time. Next time we'll revisit one of the first exhibit, the first habitat that I created. We'll do that, and that'll be episode 2. Right now, let me just show you not where I'm at, but where the entrance is at, where I left it, and then we'll see you next time. Don't forget, if you like the content that I'm giving you, please don't forget to like it. Press the like button. Subscribe to see more content. This is not the only thing that I do. There's other games that I'm playing as well, so there'll be more different content. But if you like Planet Zoo and what I'm doing, don't forget to subscribe. And thank you again, guys, for being here with me. Here's the entrance as I left it that first day. I think it's a pretty decent rendition of that picture. I think that it gets better over time. I'm gonna redo, now that I've got more pieces, I'm gonna redo I've got more pieces, and that I've got Mike's sage advice from his YouTube. I'm going to redo the entrance path and try and create those staircases, and I'm gonna do the boulevard right here in the front. Try and create a, what's it called? A sidewalk, a working sidewalk. So hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of this season. It's going to take some time because, of course, I do work. Hopefully I can keep you engaged. It's a wonderful, wonderful game. I have not stopped playing it. So guys, Don't forget, please, if you like content, press like. Leave any comments, any suggestions, anything you have on the bottom. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next one. Adios.